Shabbat Shalom, good morning. I am Rabbi Jenny Greenspan of Congregation Beth-El here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am joined on the bima this morning by Cantor Melissa Cohen and our organist Charles Manning. We would like to extend a special welcome to our bar mitzvah this morning, David Simpson, to his parents, Jennifer and Michael, to his immediate family, and to our Beth-El friends and all who are joining us on Zoom and on our live stream for this service. I know we have friends and family joining from Arizona, from North Carolina, and all over Indiana. This morning, for those joining us virtually, if you open Beth-El website, bez613.org, if you go to our Shabbat resources, virtual Shabbat resources, you will be able to find links to PDFs of our prayer book, Sidur Lev Shalem, and some Torah resources I'll direct us to again a little bit later. We know that many of you would have preferred to have attended this celebration in person, but given the requirements of social distancing and limitations of travel, we are grateful that we have this virtual technology to bring us together. So I want to also extend a special thanks to our executive director, Shari Levine, and our communications coordinator, Jackie Goldstein, and all of our Beth-El staff for the technical assistance and for maintaining our facility above and beyond necessary safety protocols. And beyond attention to these public health rules, we will overcome social distancing with the warm feelings of affection for our bar mitzvah and his family. David, I hope you enjoy and savor all of the memories of this morning. Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov. I invite David to our front to begin with the morning blessings on page 103 of Sidur Lev Shalem. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher natan lesvivina letavkin ben yom uvein laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam she'asani b'tzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam she'asani ben chorim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam pokei avirim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam malbis arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam matir ashurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam zokef kafufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam rokei ha'aretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam hamkin mitzardei gaber.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam se'esali kol zor ki.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam ozer Yisrael bigrura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam ozer Yisrael bitifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam hanoten le'ayav koach.
Amen. You have gladdened me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. I invite David to continue leading us in Baruch She'amar on page 122.
Baruch she'amar v'haya halam. Baruch osei v'reishit.
Baruch
Omer v'osei.
Baruch nozer uvkayim.
Baruch merachim al haaretz.
Baruch barachim al habirot. Baruch shalem sahar tov lireah. Baruch Elov v'kayam lanetzach.
Baruch Odeu Mantzil.
Baruch Shemo.
I invite us to please rise in body or in spirit in our places as we turn to page 148 for the Hatzi Kaddish, which will be led by our Bar Mitzvah David.
Yikado v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divara kirute. Bayom alik mochute. B'chaye yehon. Uv yomehon. Uchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman karim. Ve'maru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah. Le'olam ulam me'omaya. Yitbarach v'yistabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yamhadar v'yidola v'yita'al shemei dekudashal berechu ve'ela min kol v'cheteh v'shirata Who's bechata v'nechemata Dami Revan Behoma Ve'maru Amen.
We remain standing as we turn to the Baruch Hu on page 149, which will be led by our cantor. We invite David to go ahead and return to standing with his family.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei takun.
We turn to page 155 for the declaration of our faith, the Shema and Ve'ahavta, page 155 to 156.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavecha, ubechol nafshecha, ubechol miotecha, ve'hayu advarim ha'ele, asher Elohim mitzavecha, hayom levavecha, ve'shinantam levanecha, ve'dibarta bam ve'shivtecha beveitecha, uvelechtecha b'derech, uveshokbecha uvekunecha, ukshartam le'ot yadecha, ve'hayu letotafot b'ninecha, uchtabtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha ve'hayai. Hantis garu vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotziti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem Emet.
You may be seated as we turn to page 158. We will sing Micha Mocha, a celebration of our freedom that in fact quotes this week's Torah portion. So we'll actually get to hear these words twice today, once from our prayer book and once directly from our Torah. We'll start with the celebration in the prayer on page 158 of our Siddur. Invite us to please rise once again as we turn to the Amidah. We will do the opening blessings together on page 159 through 160, led by our cantor. Generations from Abraham and Sarah down to David joining at his bar mitzvah today with every generation, Lador Vador. Continue on page 161 in the final paragraph of the Hebrew.
Lador Vador, Lador Vador, Lador Vador, Nagit Kol Ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushatcha nakdish, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid kodecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim. Kedushatcha nakdish, v'shivchacha
Us to take a few moments of silent standing prayer. If you'd prefer to use the words of tradition, please continue page 162 through 166, or you may include the words of your own heart. May the one who creates peace on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. We say Amen. We be seated for a moment as we sing Oseh Shalom, concluding our Amidah.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imnu yimeru yaseh Shalom, yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh Shalom, yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
In a moment, we will be transitioning into our Torah service. This morning, we will be reading from Parashat Beshalach, also called Shabbat Shirah, including the Song of the Sea. Our Bar Mitzvah has prepared some teachings that he will share later on with us after we have concluded our Torah reading. If you would like to follow along with the Torah readings, I would invite you to go to beeasy613.org and go to those virtual Shabbat resources. And at the bottom of the page, you will see a place that you can download our Torah reading and our Haftarah reading for later on today. Or if you have a copy of Etz Chaim on hand, I'll also be calling pages from our Etz Chaim Chumash. If you'd like another opportunity for doing a little bit of learning on the Torah portion, I have prepared a video of Torah Talk that is available on our Beth-El Facebook page that you are welcome to view at your leisure later on. For now, we will begin our Torah service as we please rise and turn to page 168 for Ein Kamocha as David prepares to open the Ark, and we will take out our Torah to read.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kema'asecha, malachutecha malchut kol ha'olamim, u'memashaltecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai melech, Adonai
Israel's covenant of truth and righteousness, transmitted through the long generations of our people, from Moses to prophets, from rabbis to disciples, from parents to children, and from the people Israel to the world. On this Shabbat, we continue the long train of tradition. David's grandmother and parents hand him the Torah as he becomes a bar mitzvah. I invite David's father to bring the Torah briefly to his grandmother, Lori, and then we'll pass it directly to David.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo. Gadol Adonai Yitir Romama, Shemo Yachad.
May be seated. In a moment, David's parents will present him with two talitot, one of his own and one he inherits from his Zadie, his grandfather of blessed memory, Larry Lorinsky.
Lech lecha to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lech lecha on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lech lecha.
I put on the talit as a reminder that I now become a responsible member of the Jewish people. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lithatev b'tzitzit.
As we lay Zadie's talit on the Torah table to be with us as we read from the Torah, we also invite David's parents, Michael and Jennifer Simpson, to say a few words to him on this occasion of his becoming a bar mitzvah.
Well, kiddo, you've done it. You were born 8 weeks early, you escaped the hospital 2 weeks early, and you became bar mitzvah 2 months before you turned 13. You will earn your recommended belt 2 weeks coming in Taekwondo, the last belt before black. We are so very proud of you. For all that we know, you aren't always confident in yourself. We hope that your performance today will teach you that you can be. You have grown so much this last year, struggling with this pandemic and learning to cope with a world that no one has had to before. Not in generations, and the world is a very different place. When you and I volunteer in the animal shelter, You have learned to handle animals in all conditions, including those who are terrified of humans. Watching me work with and help to gentle those cats have been some of the proudest moments of my life. You have a patience and kindness about you that shines through. Your Abba and I have never been prouder than watching your progression through the ranks of Taekwondo with him. You have grown in character and strength, confidence, skill, and a strong sense of honor. You interact with confidence and grace with all the students at the dojo, no matter rank, age, or background. You have learned to stay strong in emotional and physical challenges both. Today, you receive both your own talis and your zaitis, my father and your Aunt Jess's. He would have been beside himself with pride to be here today, and you know that he would be thrilled for you to receive it. Let it be a reminder to you of family at your root, while your own talis reminds you that you are your own man as you begin to build your future. Remember that you can do whatever you want to, if you really decide that you want to. We love you.
In a moment, we will begin our Torah reading. You can come and you don't have to do that yet, just yet. We'll begin our Torah reading. For our first Aliyah, we will invite David's mother, Jennifer Simpson, to offer the Aliyah blessing. Our Torah readings, again, are either available for download on our BEZ 613 website by following the link that says Torah reading, or you may follow along in an Etz Chaim Chumash. We will be reading starting on page 404 of the Etz Chaim Chumash, or with Aliyah number 1 of the downloaded Torah reading resources. For our first Aliyah, I invite up Mother Jennifer Simpson.
Ta'amod Rishon. Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim, V'natan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen. Amen. Vayet Moshe et yado al hayam, vayolech Adonai et hayam, beruach kadim za kol halayla, vayasem et hayam lacharava, vayibak hamayim, Vayavo b'nei Yisrael b'toch hayam vayabasha, v'hamayim lahem choma miminam umismlolam, vayirdefu Mitzrayim vayavo acharehem kol suhus paro richabo, ufarashav el toch hayam vayehi v'shamoret haboker vayashkef Adonai el machanei Mitzrayim, Be'amudesh ve'anan v'yahom et machane Mitzrayim v'yahasar et ofahan markavotav v'yenahagehu b'chvei dut v'yomer Mitzrayim anusa mipnei Yisrael ki Adonai nilcham lahem v'Mitzrayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Ta'amod sheni.
For the second Aliyah, I invite Lori Lorinsky and Jessica Lorinsky, David's grandmother and aunt, forward to do the Aliyah for the Aliyah blessing for our second reading.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Leolam Ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Leolam Ba'ed. Baruch Adonai Tadonai Lehenu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'Natan Lanu Et Torato Baruch Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai Moshe neti et yadcha al hayam vayashuvu hamayim al Mitzrayim al richo al parasha vayet Moshe et yado al hayam vayashuv hayam livnot boker leitano Mitzrayim nasim likrato Vayena'er Adonai et Mitzrayim betoch hayam vayashuvu hamayim vayachasu et harechev et haparashim lechol chel paro habaim acharehem vayam lo neshayer bahem ad echad uvenei Israel hachu vayabasha betoch hayam והמים להם חומה מימינם ומשמאלם ויוש אדוני ביום ההוא את ישראל מיד מצרים וירא ישראל את מצרים מת על שפת הים וירא ישראל את היד הגדולה אשר עשה אדוני במצרים ויראו הים את אדוני ויאמינו באדוני ובמשה עבדו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natanu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amot Shlishim.
For the third Aliyah, we invite up Michael Simpson, David's father. For this Aliyah, I will invite all who are able to please rise as we will be singing. Cantor Melissa will be reading from the Torah, the Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea that our ancestors sang as they went through the split waters. So as Michael leads the blessing and Cantor does the reading, I invite us to remain standing if we are able for this reading.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Az yashir Moshe ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו לאמור השיר על אדוני כי גאו גאה סוס ורוכבו רמה וים עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לי ישועה זה לי וענווהו אלוהי אבי ורוממנו אדוני איש מלחמה אדוני שמו מרכבות פרעה וחילו ורב הים ומבחר שלישיו טובעו בים סוף תהומות יחסיומו ירדו וממשלות כמו אבן ימינך אדוני נעדרי בכוח ימינך אדוני תירץ אויב וברוב גאונך תרוס קמך תשלח ארונך יאכלמו כקש וברוח אפיך נרמו מים נטבו חמוני נוזלים כפו תהומות בלב ים, אמר אויב, ארדוף אשיג אחליק שלל, תמלא אמו נפשי, אבי קרבי, תורי שמו ידי, נשבת ברוחך כשמו ים, צללו כעופרת במים אדירים. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. נטית ימינך תבלעמו ארץ, נחית בחסדך עמזוך גאלת, נהלת בעוזך אל נווה קודשך, שמעו עמים ירגזון. חיל אחז יושבי פלשת, אז נבהלו אלופי אדום אלי מואב, יאחזמו רעד, נמוגו כל יושבי כנען, תיפול עליהם אימתה בפחד, בגדול זרחת ידמו כאבן. עד יעבור עמך אדוני, עד יעבור עמזו כניתה. תביאמו ותיאמו בהר נחלתך, מכון לשבתך פעלת אדוני, מקדש אדוני כאוננו ידיך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. קיווה סוס פרעה ברכבו, פרשה בים, וישב אדוני עליהם את מי הים ובני ישראל, הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים, ותיקח מרים הנביאה על כות אהרון את התוף בידה, ותצאנה כל הנשים אחריה בתופים ובמחולות, ותען להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאו גאה, סוס ורוכבו רמה בים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם ניתן בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. May be seated.
תעמוד רביעי.
For the fourth Aliyah, we invite forward friend and teacher Rebecca Maccabee.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'chabanu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayasa Moshe et Yisrael miyam su, vayatzu et midbar shor, vayalchu shloshet yamim b'midbar velo matzu mayim, vayavo marata velo yachlu lishtot mayim mimara, ki marim him al kein kara shema mara. Vayilonu ha'amal Moshe lemor min yichteh, vayitzak el Adonai. Vayorehu Adonai etz, vayashlech el hamayim, vayimateku hamayim. Sham sam lo chok umishpat, vesham nisahu vayomer. Im shamo hatishma lekol Adonai Elohecha, v'hayashar b'neicha ta'aseh, v'hazanta l'mitzvotav, v'shamarta kol chukav. Kol hamachala asher samti v'mimitzrayim lo asihim alecha, ki ani Adonai rofecha.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amot Chamishi.
For our fifth Aliyah, we invite forward friend and teacher George Kelly. We moved pretty quickly in the desert from song to looking for water. Our fifth Aliyah begins chapter 15, verse 27.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirbanu le'avodato v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayavo Elima v'sham. Shetem esrei nohot mayim v'shivim temarim v'yachanu sham al hamayim v'yisum elim v'yavohu kol adot b'nei Yisrael el midbar Sin asher ben Elim u'vin Sinai. ב-50 יום לחודש השני לצאתם מארץ מצרים. וילונו כל הדת בני ישראל על משה ועל אהרון במדבר, ויאמרו עליהם בני ישראל, מי ייתן אמותינו ביד אדוני בארץ מצרים בשבתנו על סיר הבשר ואוכלנו לחם לשבע, כי הוציאתם אותנו אל המדבר הזה להמית את כל הקהל הזה ברעב.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ta'amot shishi.
For our sixth Aliyah, invite friend and teacher Cindy Hart.
Baruch et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'natan lanu et Torah. Whoops. So sorry. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baka barnu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai Moshe hineni mameti lachem lechem min hashamayim vayatza ha'am v'lakdu davar yom b'm yomo laman anasenu. Hayolech betorati imlo v'haya b'yom hashishi v'hechinu et asher yavi'u v'haya hamishne al asher yilketu yom yom. Vayomer Moshe v'Aaron el kol bnei Yisrael erev וידעתם כי אדוני הוציא אתכם מארץ מצרים ובבוקר וראיתם את כבוד אדוני ושמעו את תלונותיכם על אדוני ונחמה כי תלינו עלינו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ta'amot shvi'i.
For the seventh Aliyah, we invite Tracy Mishkin, David's bar mitzvah tutor, who will be joining us from Zoom.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah
Amen. Vayomer Moshe b'teit Adonai. Lachem ba'erev b'sar lechol, ve'lachem b'boker lishbo'a. Yishmo Adonai et telunotechem asher atem malinim alav. V'nahachnu malo aleinu telunotechem ki al Adonai. Vayomer Moshe el Aaron emor. El kol adat b'nei Yisrael kirvu lifnei Adonai ki hishama telunotechem vayehi kadaber Aharon et kol adat b'nei Yisrael vayifanu el hamidbar v'hine kavod Adonai nir'ah be'anan.
Amen. We invite David and his parents, Michael and Jennifer, to approach the Torah in just a moment. David will be reading the Maftir Aliyah, the conclusion of our Torah portion. If you are following in an Etz Chaim Chumash, it is on page 422, Exodus 17, verse 14. We will get to hear David read from the Torah for the first time, accompanied by his parents.
Ya'amod, Ya'amod, Habachur David ben Michael v'Bela bar hamitzvah maftir hazak.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborah. Baruch Adonai Hamborah le'olam ba'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bechar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu Torah emet. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, Tatov zot zikaron ve'ater v'shim ve'atnei ve'Yeshua ki macha emet. Ezeche Amalek V'hatach Hamam Ve'im Maseh Matmeh V'kra Shemo Adonai Nisi Vayomer Ki Yad Elkei Yam Mahama L'Adonai Ve'amalek Midor Dor.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We invite them to please rise as we lift the Torah and prepare it for dressing. In moments that we will be doing Haftarah. Invite David forward. He will be reading his Haftarah, a selection from the Book of Prophets, today from the Book of Judges. Just as our Torah portion had a Shirah, a song, which Cantor Melissa showed to us in the Torah scroll, the Haftarah also, in its fullest form, includes the Song of Deborah, and so this is indeed a Shabbat Shirah, a Shabbat of song. And David will be reading his Haftarah. If you are following in an Etz Chaim Chumash, it is on page 426. You may also download the selection from our website. David, go ahead.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol
Asher bahar b'mi'im tovim
Vada'ah V'divrei Hanavim Be'emet Baruch atah Adonai Abocher b'Torah Moshe Avdo Yisrael Amo V'Nvi'ei Emet B'Tzedek
Amen.
V'Tashar Dvorah Uvrak Ben Avinoam Barom Ha'ulemor Bifroa Paraot V'Yisrael V'Hitnadev Am Baruchu Adonai Shimu Malkim Hatnu Rotznim Anochi Ladonai Anochi Ashira Etmer Ladonai Elohei Yisrael Adonai Bezeitcha Miseir Ba'amdecha Misdei Adom Aret Ra'asha Gam Shamayim Netfu Gam Avim Natfu Mayim Harim Netzwu Mipnei Adonai Zeh Zanei Mipnei Adonai Elohei Yisrael Bimei Shamgar Ben Anat Bimei Yael Hadlu Arachot Behold, hey, mitvot, yehu arachot, akol kalot, hadlu faratzon, v'Yisrael, adelu on, some compti devorah, some compti aim, v'Yisrael, yifar Elohim, hadashim azlecha, sa'arim, Magain im Yara Varma Ba'ari Ba'im Elef Yisrael Libi Lehokake Yisrael Hamitad Bim Bam Baruchu Adonai Rovei Atonot Zicharot Yisbei Omidim V'holchei ol derech shichu mikol v'hatzitzim bein masa'abim sham yatanu zidkot Adonai zidkot pirzono b'Yisrael Asheradu v'sa'arim am Adonai Uri, Uri, Devorah, Uri, Uri, Dabri, Shir, Kumbarak, Uzve, Savyecha, Ben Avinoam, Azarad, Shari, Adim, Am Adonai, Ered Li, Bag, Borim, Ken, Yovdu, Ho'arafeh, Adonai Ba'achavar Kizei Hashemesh Bigvu Rato Batishkot Haaretz Arbaim Shana Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Zor kol halamim Zadik bechol hatorot Hanaman Omer Ba'aseh Ham Daveru Kayim Shakol Devara B'mitzvat Tzedek Manata Hu Adonai Eloheinu V'ne'emanim Devaracha V'echad Gar Echad Midaracha Achor Lo Yishuv Rakam Ki El Melech Ne'eman V'rachaman Ata Baruch Atah Adonai El Haneman Behold V'rav Lacham Azion Ki Hu Beit Ayenu Ola Aluvet Nefesh Toshia Bim Hera Vayamenu Baruch Atah Adonai V'semei Sion V'venecha Samkeinu Adonai Eloheinu V'amayehu Hanvim Avdeh U'malchut Beit David V'zichecha Bim Hara Gavo V'yagel Libenu Al Kisho Lo Yaseh Zar V'lo Yinchalu Odecharim Et Govodo Ki V'shem Kadshecha Nis be'atalo, shalo yifbeh, noiro le'alam ba'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen David, HaTorah, HaTorah, Hanvim, Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, Tanatetalanu Adonai Eloheinu, L'Kedusha V'Linuchet L'Chovod U'Tivarat Ahamho Adonai Eloheinu Anoknu Modim Le Uvarachim Ota Yitbarak Shemecha Yivkolkei Tamid Le'olam Ve'ad Baruch Atah Adonai V'kadesh HaShabbat
Amen. Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov.
Say a mazel tov, a wonderful job to you, David. We are going to please rise as a community so we can put our Torah together, and then I will share a few words with you afterwards.
Tehila lechor chasi
David. I'm going to invite him back to the front where he will be sharing a few of his own words, sharing his own wisdom and reflections on today's Torah portion with his bar mitzvah speech.
My Torah portion is Beth-EL. It's about when the Israelites leave Egypt through the splitting of the Red Sea. And when they get out into the desert, there is no food or water. They start quarreling with one another and with Moses. God sends them manna for food and tells Moses how to get them water. Something I find interesting in this portion is the Israelites argue with each other and Moses. They're upset over them being in the middle of the desert without water or food. Then God tells Moses to bring the elders and hit a rock with the same miracle staff he used to split the Red Sea, and water will run. Moses did this in front of all of the people, and water did run, just like God said it would. God gave Moses a way to solve the problem that wasn't arguing, since quarreling wasn't really getting them what they needed. They ended up naming the place where the rock was Meribah, which means arguing, since they had argued and then learned another way to get what they needed. This relates to my life because I know that arguing doesn't get us what we need. I remember in my kindergarten, 2 kids were fighting over a toy, but after a while they played with the toy together instead of fighting. Arguing over who gets the COVID vaccine first won't distribute it faster. Patience and cooperation will. These are 3 examples, and there are many more, that teach us that quarreling will not get us what we need. But if we work together with each other and with God, we can solve the problem. Many people have worked together with me to make today possible. Thank you, Rabbi Dennis, for being the kind and funny eldest rabbi. Rabbi Jenny, thank you for being role model and working with me on this speech. To Cantor Melissa, thank you for helping me with the prayers. Dr. Mishchin, I could not have learned my Torah and Haftorah blessings or the Torah portion and Haftorah portion without your help. George Kelly and teachers at the BJE, thank you for everything you have taught me. I have so many other family members here and gone. I thank you for your love and support for me, and I know you will continue even after this. A few special people to mention are: thank you, Aunt Jessie and Aunt Myra, for keeping an eye on Zadie and telling us every time we visited how he was doing, and for bringing him up here when you could and help us with grieving when Zadie passed to the heavens with God and the rest of our family members before him and me. Thank you to my special Bubby and Zadie for making each Hanukkah and birthday better, and for enjoying hearing what I have been doing when others were not. Thank you, Eamon Abba, for raising me and being there for me. I am proud to become a bar mitzvah at Beth-El Zedek. Thank you to everyone who is here to support me, whether in person or on Zoom or live stream. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I'll invite you and your parents to come to this, to that side. My turn to share some words with you. So you're going to go over there.
David,
Right, where? Oh, where can't you move?
Okay. David over here. And then let's put Mom next to him. Put David on the outside. And Mom. And then just stand and face Rabbi Jenny. Yeah. And then, yeah. So Mom, come over here. Or Dad. Yeah. Just around there.
I don't know if you know this, but this is still one of the first few times I've gotten to be the rabbi for a bar mitzvah. And I'm so happy to get to do it for you. It's such a joy and a pleasure to watch with all of your learning. I say, David, I don't know if you noticed, but you have one of the most dramatic Torah portions one could possibly have. The Shabbat that we read it on has its own special name, Shabbat Shirah, I mentioned a couple of times, which is the Shabbat of Song. In this Torah portion, Pharaoh finally says that our Israelite ancestors are allowed to leave Egypt and go free after years of slavery and oppression that he's put them through. And then he changes his mind while they're rushing to pack up, and he chases them. And the waters part, and the Israelites sing, and there is this beautiful, huge, dramatic miracle. And that's not what you chose to focus on. You managed, when looking at this Torah portion, to see past the drama to a part of our story where you picked up on a human interaction. what was happening for the people out there, you noticed a little piece, a conversation between Moses and God that usually gets glossed over when people look at this Torah portion because of the drama earlier on. You noticed the very human tendency to argue and fight when we are stressed, and recognized that Moses and God could have joined in on that and instead talked to each other and solved the problem. In short, you actually pointed out Moses' empathy for the people. You pointed out that Moses went to God to ask for a way to take care of those people. And I think that that empathy is something you noticed, because it is a big part of who you are. How your parents described you to me. Kind, loving, empathetic, and empathic. And intelligent and imaginative, we'll get to them. You show this caring in so much of what you do. You spend a lot of time volunteering, and you do it in ways that takes care of all kinds of creatures. You volunteer at the Indian Humane Society, helping the animals who are also stressed and struggling in this pandemic as humans are. You spend a lot of time at the Indianapolis Zoo. You told me how excited you are to turn 14 so that you can not only take care of the animals, but share what you have learned about how to take care of meerkats and dolphins and walruses and elephants and all kinds of creatures. You're excited to care for them, and you are excited to show others how to take care of them. I think your parents also said you were intelligent and imaginative. You are excited to share your learning with others. You told me traits that you admire are learning and mental discipline. I think you admire those qualities because they are also your own. You keep yourself busy, always looking for new things to learn and ways to explore this world. You learn about history and marine biology and animals. You commit yourself to meditation and to Taekwondo because you are almost ready to consider getting ready for a black belt. You're constantly learning and strengthening your mind and your body, always ready to keep going. You told me that your fondest Jewish memory was of being a first grader at consecration in this room when we unrolled the entire Torah. You got to see the words of our Torah up close. You were excited that this morning you got to read from them for the first time in front of the community here and gathered online for you. Because you know that those words link you to your family and to your tradition, and there are places to keep learning. When you learn about your Judaism, you take care of your relationship with your family and your tradition. You already know that this moment marks that you are now grown enough to build your own link in that chain of Judaism. Deeply rooted tradition, and you have claimed your place by reading from the Torah today. This morning, you were presented not only with your own talit, but also this one right here, worn by your beloved Zadie, Larry Lorinsky of blessed memory, who would also have loved to see you join this tradition. You are linked to him today. Your learning and your care linked you to so much of this world. And I hope that you always keep all of your passions for learning and your commitment, your ability to keep going. And may you always be curious and imaginative. May you always look at what is in this world and what can be. May you always be the friendly, kind, empathetic person who also wants to share his learning with others and show love for all creatures. May you always be a loving person who can see the past, the big, dramatic moments, to the real lessons and the real opportunities of being a person and learning to work together. I invite you, with your parents, Michael and Jennifer, standing beside you, your grandmothers, Lori Lorinsky here in the room, and Dana Simpson joining us virtually, your grandfathers joining you in spirit. I want to offer you a blessing from our tradition as you become a bar mitzvah. Misha Berach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Ve'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hevei Yivarech et David ben Michael V'Bela Asher Allah Hayom Likrat HaTorah V'Haftarah Le'ot Haba'at Ratzon Liyot Chayim Ru'im Levein Yisrael. May God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Bless David, Larry, Simpson, who has today been called to the reading of Torah and the Haftarah as a sign of his desire to live a worthy Jewish life. May God, who is with him from birth and enabled him to grow to his present stature in body and spirit, continue to be with him in life ahead. May it be God's will that he continue to grow in health and strength, in wisdom and humility, in love and loyalty, in faith and courage, and that he may ever be a joy to his parents, an honor to his people, a credit to his country, and a true servant of God. Say Amen. And invite all family members who are present physically and virtually to join me in the Shehecheyanu, a blessing for reaching this moment of celebration. We say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Shehecheyanu V'kiyamanu V'higiyanu Lazman Hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, source of all creation, for giving us life, sustaining us, and bringing us to this happy occasion. And we say, Amen. So now I will invite your Father Michael standing closest. There's a little bag under this podium here, full of some gifts for you, a backpack to take with you on your Jewish journey. It includes gifts from the rabbis and from the cantor, from our sisterhood and men's club, our federation, gifts from all of us, the Beth-El community, to help you continue to grow and continue to learn and share your learning as you continue on your Jewish journey. Say Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. And you can come sit back down as we move toward the conclusion of the service. We'll allow you to celebrate together. Our service continues on page 205, and I know I told you to sit back down, but I was just kidding. We're going to rise as we turn to page 205 for the Aleinu as we move to the conclusion of our Shabbat morning service.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latit gedola liyotzeh brishit, shelo asanu kigoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo saman chelakinu bahem, ve'or aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
We may be seated. In a moment, we will recite the Mourner's Kaddish, in which we affirm our awareness of holiness in our world. We know that much of our experience of divine goodness, grace, and love has come to us through those whose lives have touched our own. Today, as a congregation, we offer condolences to Eleanor Gelman and her family on the death of her beloved brother, Jack Cohen. We also remember Shirley Reeder Apperson, Gertrude Siegel-Dock, Michael Battler, and Stephen Shore. We invoke the transcendent power of love and caring as we sanctify God's name. I invite all who are in mourning, all who are observing yard site, and all who are membering a loved one this week to please rise and join me on page 207 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, ve'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye zechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei amaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha berichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yahei shlama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. May the one who creates peace on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. We say amen. May all those whom we remember, their memories be for a blessing. We may be seated. I invite on Zoom, we will invite our president of our board, Dan Fox, to offer some greetings and announcements for us on Zoom.
Thank you, Rabbi. David, you're a fine young man, having committed to work all the years to reach his accomplishment with Bar Mitzvah. On behalf of the board of directors, congratulations. We look forward to you continuing your Jewish education here at Congregation Beth-El. And to your parents, Jennifer and Michael Simpson, Mazel Tov, and your grandparents, Lori Florinsky and Danya Simpson. Mazel Tov to you all. An announcement, please connect virtually with us this Monday, February 1st at 7:30 p.m. for our next Cocktail Judaism program, which promises to cause laughter. As Rabbi Dennis hosts a night of laughs and Jewish humor with comedian Rabbi Bob Alper, the topic, the spirituality of laughter. Thank you to Rabbi Jenny, Cantor Melissa, and Cantor and Cornelius Charles Manning for leading our service this morning. And thank you for joining us this morning. We look forward to having you with us during many services and programs in the weeks ahead. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you so much, Dan. Mazel tov again from me and from Cantor Melissa, to David and his whole family, to Lori and Dana as well. We'll say Shabbat Shalom. We move to conclude our service with a song, again in honor of today's Torah portion. We will conclude with Miriam's song. If you'd like to follow along, there is a song sheet available on our website in the same virtual Shabbat resources section.
And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shore, she gazed across the sea. The wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance all night. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance the whole night long.
Say Shabbat Shalom. I invite all who are joining us via Zoom, if you'd like to come off of mute, we'll invite the Simpson family. Come take a look, see who's here joining us. Get to say Shabbat Shalom and greet everyone who wasn't able to join us in the sanctuary, but were able to join us virtually. If you are on Zoom, you're allowed to unmute now and say hello.
Good job, Debbie. Mazel tov. Thank you.
Thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.